Well, hey there. For Best Music Coach, my name is Dan. I'm a music teacher about to listen to the Super Metroid OST for the very first time in my life. That's right, I've never heard this OST before. I mean, I've played Super Smash Bros. Melee, so I've probably heard one or two tracks. In full transparency. That being said, I've never heard this before in my life. So join me as we have fun, discover hidden connections, and understand how music works. Let's do this thing. Type a 2 in the chat if you're ready to rock this roll. And we're going to feel that beat, and we can ride the boogie as we share this beat of Super Metroid OST. Yes, I said Hess. OST. Let's do this thing. All right, so we have motif number 2.
The last Metroid
Oh, hold
is
on.
in
And then when? That's gonna be our motif number 2, starting on a D. So we have 1 1, flat 6, flat 3, 1 1, flat 6, flat 3, then 1 1, flat 7, flat 6. Okay, and then our motif number 1 that we had at the very beginning. Let's actually go back and listen to that real quick. That one. Be-do, be-be-do, boo. Like that. So in each case, coming to rest on a D. So we're gonna say motif 1. We're gonna just for the sake, because we started motif 2, D equals 1. We're also gonna say that D equals 1 here. And motif 1, so we're gonna say 5, flat 5. Okay, it's basically motif 1 and motif 2. Okay, so we have the main theme kind of locked in. Now we're going to see if motif number 1 or motif number 2 from our main theme are going to show up elsewhere. And how fun is it to be back in this land of Super Nintendo? The SNES. I say SNES instead of SNES. I don't know. I grew up without talking to a lot of people about playing the SNES, and I just had my own brain to think about it, and that's what my brain came up with. So here we go. Prologue intro theme. Let's do this thing.
The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
Nice. shake that thing. Gonna shake that thing. All right, let's go grab that. So it does sound rather prologue-y in the sense that there's literally a fanfare happening, as if to announce the story that is yet to come. Now we're gonna go back and actually grab the notes of that there fanfare. So the first motif we heard was like a second motif something. Alright, so in this case, E flat is 1, and I'll explain what all this means in a second. 2. 1, 5, 4, 2, 4, 2, do, right. Do, maybe 7, 5. Yeah, 7, 5. Flat 7 to 5. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing any connections just yet, but what I'll explain to you, what do all these numbers mean? Well, in music, we understand everything with numbers and letters. And this is how we break everything down. So what I'm doing is to save you a lot of hassle and make sure, you can understand this even if you don't read music or even if you know nothing about music theory. What we're doing is we're using regular numbers to track the differences between notes and to track the themes and then the motifs within the themes. And you might be saying, well, Dan, I heard leitmotifs are a thing. What's on earth a theme? And what on earth is the difference between a theme and a motif? Well, let me explain. Theme is like the family, and then the motifs are like the members of the family inside of the theme. So I'm very different from my sister, but together we make up part of our family. So motifs can be very different one from another, but together they make up a theme, is one way of thinking about it. Now, like I said, I was going to explain these numbers and letters to you. So in music, we have what is called the musical alphabet. In music, we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and around it goes. So we never go to H. As soon as we get to G, we just go back to A. So we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 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 A. I messed up somewhere along the line there. But the point is, we just go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, round and round and round, and then we can go down the musical alphabet. G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. And I'm not singing those notes perfectly because I don't have perfect pitch, but you get the idea. It goes from low to high if we go A, B, C, D, F, G, and it goes from high to low if we go G, F, E, D, C, B, A. So what's happening is I'm relating these numbers to the letters. Right, like I said, it's a little complex, but to make sure you don't have to think about the letters, to make sure you can understand this, even if you know nothing about music, what I'm doing is I'm codifying each one of these motifs and each one of the themes into a series of numbers that indeed represent the letters that I'm thinking of in my head. But again, to make it easy for you, I'm just putting in these numbers. So what we're going to look for is we're going to look for connections between numbers, and that's going to let us know that there's ideas or motifs or even ideas within motifs, which would actually be a motif because the definition of a motif is the smallest definable musical idea. So technically, I'm sorry if I'm confusing. I'm sorry if I'm absolutely just fire hosing you in the face with music theory right now, but groove with me. So look, if we could identify two separate motifs within a motif, technically, arguably, then it's no longer a motif. It would actually be something we might call a sub-phrase. Or indeed a phrase. And don't ask me about the difference between subphrases and phrases, because my goodness, you think we're in the woods now. Just wait till we start dissecting the difference between phrases and subphrases and how we figure all that out. Plays, like music, like no good definitions exist. So basically what I'm trying to say is I'm going to be roughing out some ideas here. So groove with me, roughshod, over this delightful OST we're listening to. Type a 3 in the chat if you're having a fun time. And let's keep this thing a rockin' and a rollin' and a rockin' and a reelin'. Barbara Ann. Barbara Ann. Okay. And that was me trying to stall while I got back to my little window to actually press play. Okay, here we go. Approaching the space colony. Okay. No. Approaching the space colony. Sounds to me to be an F major chord in first inversion. So in this case, we don't really think of approaching the space colonies having a motif. Rather, oh, I should write down the keys as we go. I'm going to say D minor. I'm going to say E flat minor. Okay, colony. Approaching. Approach space colony. Approach space. F major. Kind of, sort of. It really was just an F over C. Sometimes I'll use letters, but rarely. Now you might be saying, well, Dan, what on earth is a chord? And why didn't you write down those nifty little numbers you've been using that you promised me I was so easily going to understand? Well, let me explain. So these numbers are what we would call notes. This is a note. This is a note. This is a note. This is a note. Now what happens is we take two or more notes and we play them together at the same time. We get what is called a chord. So, for example, this F chord over C has a 1, a 3, and a 5 played all together at the same time. And in addition to it, underneath all of it is a really low 5. So there's a 1, 3, and a 5 with a 5 on the bottom of it. And that's how we could understand that sound. It sounds a little, it's not going to sound exactly like you just heard, but it'll sound something like it. There you go. Okay, let's check out Deserted Ceres. Ceres? Ceres. I feel like that's a name that I've seen too many times in too many video games, and I should be able to pronounce it. And yet, here we are. Ceres Space Colony. But they have dessert. So, if you got cookies, I'll walk around your obviously haunted or destroyed deserted space station. Okay, so the two notes we could make out in this piece of, well, sound, I would hesitate to call this music, is kind of a B flat and kind of a G. Okay, so we heard a B flat was that really high note, was a B flat and the G. So we're gonna call the G, I mean, at this point, this is running very roughshod. So Ceres. We're gonna say it had to play together at the same time. So it was a chord, it was harmony. A 1 and a flat 3 is what we're gonna call that. And well, you could say, well, in the prologue we had a 1, we had a flat 3. Yeah, maybe. I feel like that 1, that flat 3 there was more just sort of supposed to be ambiance to give us a feeling of like machines were broken and maybe like fans running or something like that. Or maybe it's just, maybe that's the sound of space. But damn, there's no sound in space. That's not how physics works. Shh. That's not how physics works. Shh. Okay. Ridley, Draygon boss theme. Wow, Ridley, huh? Let's check it out. Draygon. We're boss theme, number 5. Exciting. Okay, well, I'm going to point out what we'll call the main motif that's really holding this down. There was a second motif, which we're not going to take a look at for right now. We're going to focus on this main motif, which was... What we had there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. The music was grouped into fives, which is, well... I mean, I guess, you know, if we're going to think about a boss, we're going to think about a dragon. I'm looking at the artwork right here. It looks to be like a red dragon. So I'm going to go ahead and say represents the devil. 5, yes. Pentagon, pentagram. We're in 5. Numerology, a little bit much there. And we have a 1, a flat 2, and a flat 7. And indeed, we can go all the way back to ancient Hindu chants. Yes, ancient Hindu chants. I'm not misspeaking about Shiva, the destroyer of worlds, which uses the 1, flat 2, and flat 7. So these same notes we're seeing here in this boss theme have been used to imply some entity that is in some sense a destroyer, an ender of things since like before time. So how cool is that? Now, we've heard this 1, flat 2, flat 7. We've heard this show up in Persona 3, many other OSTs, to give a feeling of, well, something foreboding or something a little bit more threatening. Well, so, you know, yeah, malicious, says a vamp flower. Maliciousness, yeah, that's pretty cool. Matt says that's some deep music theory. Yeah, it is some deep music theory. So, like the chant to Shiva, the same 3 notes, like for the whole thing, the whole first movement of the chant to Shiva, same notes. Coincidence? Maybe. Did the composer think about that? Likely not. But there seems to be some sort of truth or some sort of constant thing that human beings, when we hear a 1, a flat 2, and a flat 7, we're like, uh-oh. I mean, in all fairness, this doesn't sound like we're going to go get ice cream with Uncle Billy, right? That doesn't sound like we're going to Dairy Queen with Uncle Billy. That sounds threatening. So... there you go. bringing it back in to something that is, well, dark. Now, why is it dark? It's dark because we have a flat 2 and a flat 7. So most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, most of the music you hear doesn't have a flat 2 in it. And I'll show you what I mean. That's without the flat 2. That's just a regular 2. Flat, what does flat mean? Flat means we lower it a little bit. And whenever we lower things, they usually sound a little, well, more dark and mysterious and maybe threatening too. So here's without the flat 2. Type a 2 in the chat if you think that sounds threatening. Mary sounds like Mary had a little lamb. Right? Not very threatening. Now, if we make that flat 2, all of a sudden it totally changes the character, the emotion, the feeling of the music, which is why you'll find a flat 2 in plenty of boss themes, is because, well, it actually just sounds a little sinister and a little threatening. So let's go ahead and check out our next piece of music. Okay, which is going to be Crateria, Zebes. Well, okay, if Ceres was Ceres, this would be Zebes. Zebes. I feel like that's a disease that doesn't actually exist that you think you're gonna get when you're a child. Like, please, Mama, I don't want to catch the Zebes. All right, let's check out Super Metroid music. Crateria, Zebes. Quick shout out and thank you to Joseph Cortez, longtime supporter of the channel, for your super chat. I'll read all super chats at the end. So what's interesting about Crateria here is there's actually a lot of really clever things happening here, not all of which I'm going to take the time to break down because I would actually have to sit here and think about it. And I know you don't want to just sit here and watch me think. So I'm going to grab a couple of these. The first thing that I want to lay down for you is that all of the, we'll call them melody notes that are played in Zebes here are all this flat 2 relationship to each other. So the reason why this sounds threatening is because every time a note is played, it is either like the flat 2 of the 1 or it's the 1 and then it goes to a flat 2. So because everything's close to that, and the way I'm thinking about it is whichever one comes first, I'm relating to the next one. But again, that's a surface level of analysis, because if we go in and we understand the third tone that was playing during all of those half steps, it actually creates a totally different thing, which we may get to in a moment here. So one of the reasons why Zebes sounds so creepy Zebes is so creepy. Zebes is so creepy is because we have this 1 flat 2 relationship all over the place. So check this out. We had so we have, and the reason how you can know it's a flat 2 is because it sounds like we're about to start free release. Okay, so that's how you know it's at that flat 2. Now, we have over this we have boom. So we have, like, that's really delicious. That we have right there. Now, oh, that's like a natural 6 to a flat 6 there over the D. That's delightful. Let's grab a couple of these. So what I'm saying is this low one's gonna be 1, so that would make this 6, and that's flat 6. All right, let's get that one. So we have lost it. Was reading chat. Where am I? We have doo-doo. And over that we have... And then we have this. Oh, that is so cool. So if we think of the E flat here as being 1, then we have a minor 3rd to a major 3rd. Like I said, there's some really, really interesting and clever things going on in here that we are not going to take all the time to break down every single one, but some really, really cool stuff happening in here. Let's check out the Space Pirates Emerge. Oh my! Clutching my pearls. Clutch, clutch. Oh my, oh my. Okay, so some really fascinating stuff going on in the space. Some call me the space pirate. Some call me the gangster of OST reactions. It's a joke if you get it. Okay, well, a couple things. Number one, well, it's like, I wish I was an octopus. It would be so useful. Okay. Okay, so let's grab that one little riff down there. Okay, so this creates unsettling sounds for a couple of reasons. Number one, we have this, which is like a 2 3 2 3 1 type thing. So we have essentially 3 2 1. So we can think of any, and yeah, it's not exactly in this order. It's like 2 3 2 3 2 3 2 1. I'm just right 2 3 2 1 here as an abbreviation. Now we can think of this lowest part. We're gonna think of this like as if it was Mary Had a Little Lamb. Okay. One of the reasons why this sounds, it's like having a scary clown. So one of the reasons why it sounds threatening is because the bottom of what's happening is basically Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's this very sweet idea that's not by itself in isolation. Like the idea of a clown in isolation, not at all threatening, but you give it fangs and like it's in the sewers of a town in Maine and all of a sudden it gets a little bit more threatening. So let's understand why this Mary Had a Little Lamb on the bottom all of a sudden sounds so threatening. Well, it's because of what's happening around this clown. It's the fangs, if you will, or the ability to transform into things. What you fear most. Ugh. Right. So what we're having is it's creating kind of a little bit of harmony with these higher notes that are being held over this Mary. So Mary Had a Little Lamb's going on, but the notes that are above the Mary Had a Little Lamb is what makes it sound so threatening. So for example, this note right here also doesn't sound very threatening, but when we go I mean, type a 4 in the chat if that sounds a little discordant to you. That sounds a little off, like, you know, the clown who looks nice from far away, but all of a sudden you walk and it's like it's a zombie, and you're like, oh no. Right? So that's what's happening. It's like one or two notes. Just, it's Mary Had a Little Lamb. I don't know if you can see this lamb, but it's got fangs. Death awaits you all, nasty, sharp, pointy teeth. You know, it's the killer lamb. Forget about a killer rabbit. It's a killer lamb, and it's out for blood. So that's what makes Space Pirates sound so threatening. It's that there's this sort of nice, beautiful thing that's going on, and well, above it is context that makes it sound, well, quite threatening. Okay, let's keep it going with Chozo Statue Awakens. I feel like I just said a bad word, but we're going to keep going. Okay, so what we had in Chozo Statue Awakening was actually not unlike what we had in Approach to Space Station. In fact, it was the same type of arrangement where there was a 1, 3, 5, but the 5 was lowest there. So we had stacked on top of each other, 1, 3, 5, but 5 again in the lowest position. So 1, 3, 5, 5 in the lowest position, and then going up and down by half step. So then what it's doing is that same idea of 1 to flat 2 that we had in Draygon. It's then taking the 1, 3, 5 with the 5 in the bottom, taking that stack and then moving it up and down by that flat 2, right? So again, it's the idea of having a Mary Had a Little Lamb, because this 1, 3, 5 is basically the chord version of Mary Had a Little Lamb. 1, 3, 5. Walking on Sunshine. It just feels super happy. But here's the thing. When we take the same idea and we're going... So I think my guitar's a little out of tune. But get the idea. We're going from D flat up to a D, and that is basically a 1 to a flat 2, going back and forth between 1 and flat 2 there. So again, it's taking elements of something that by itself in isolation is not threatening, and in fact is normally associated with happy fun times, but then adding in an element where, you know, it transforms the original idea of the threatening thing the non-threatening thing into something that is, well, a little bit more sinister. Okay, let's check out Item Room Ambience. I feel like I'm calling my grandparents in 1995. Okay. Well, you know, someone had a question in the chat in YouTube and said, is this even music? So we're going to run a poll real quick. Y'all vote. Y'all vote. You tell me what you think. If you're on Twitch, type a 1 for if you think this is music. Type a 2 if you think this is not music. Rubberman 202 is offended. This is not music. Hello, fellow humans. I made music. Okay. Well, the results are in on YouTube. 95% of viewers state that this is, in fact, music. And on Twitch, nobody voted. So, YouTube has it. This is music. Now, this does honestly reminds me of dialing on those. Type a 4 in the chat if you were so excited when your parents finally got a handset phone and the numbers lit up when you pressed them. Oh, the lap of luxury. You'd press the button and it would light up. It's like, we were there. The future was now. The future was now. It's like, that was it. Yes, Majito very accurately identifies that these tones we're hearing are actually two notes at the same time. They're actually harmonies. Which I will figure out some other time, so you don't have to sit here and watch me sweat while I figure those out. Cool. Okay. So, room ambiance, we've decided, is in fact music, and now we're going to go on to the jungle floor. Oh, reminds me of Donkey Kong. Really reminds me of Donkey Kong. So you know what this song is really missing? This song is like missing a melody. Like it's all groove. Now I'm not saying missing as in something's wrong. I'm saying like it could easily have a melody. And in fact, if you'll indulge me, I would like to spontaneously create a melody for you on the spot right now. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a melody for this and we'll see how it goes. And who knows what's about to happen. So, buckle up, my buttercups. Here we go. Oh, lost it! there you go. So we just added a melody to that song in real time, which was, I mean, something. Okay, let's keep this thing rocking and rolling. Equus Stenchman asks for an explanation of melody. Well, every melody is composed of two elements: rhythm and pitch. And I would argue, and I posit to you today, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that the most important part of the melody is, in fact, the rhythm, and that the notes are actually less consequential. People may disagree. People may fight and scream and yell, and still I will maintain that rhythm is the most important part of melodies. So, we have rhythm. So, for example, I'm going to clap rhythm. Pretty cool rhythm, right? I'll clap it again. Now this time I'll put notes to it, pitches. That is how we can think of melody. There's a rhythm to it, and then you can add notes to the rhythm. There you go. Okay, let's keep this thing going. Okay, so by the way, Jungle Floor was basically just groove time. Groove time. Okay, let's keep this going with Underground Depths. The trap drums would sound really good. So what we have in here in Brinstar is two chords separated by if I can make it through the word, separated by 1 to a flat 2, but I'm coloring these now. This is like someone handing you a coloring book and you adding something else on top of it. Yeah, 1 5 4 5. Four. Rock 733. Actually, it's going to be an E flat minor, essentially going to an E major. Now, this chord progression here that we have, we've heard it in Final Fantasy. Nobuo Uematsu uses it a ton. We've heard it in many, many, many soundtracks, but often not presented quite as it is here. So very interesting chords being used, and an interesting melody that we have, which if we look at all the melodies we have so far, I don't think we've had any quite like this before. I've never had a melody quite like this before. And we're going to keep it going to find out what else we've got going on. Let's check it out with Spore Spawn, Botwoon. Oh, we get a boss theme. Means I get to pull out my red pen. You know, Alex Becker already called his whiteboard the Whiteboard of Truth and Justice, but I thought that was such a perfect name that I would also like to call this whiteboard the Whiteboard of Truth and Justice, because it had such a ring to it. And there doesn't need to just be one whiteboard of truth and justice, so this is also a whiteboard of truth and justice. Okay, let's check out the Botwoon boss theme. Wow, I honestly did not think that that was going to be a boss theme, and yes, it was. That was Botwoon. Again, I feel like I'm saying dirty words when I say the names of these places, but roll with me here. Now, the main thing going on here was now, you might be wondering why that sounds foreboding and threatening. Well, it sounds foreboding and threatening because of something called chromaticism. Chromaticism is when we have a bunch of 1s to flat 2s in a row. So we have 1 to a flat 2, then we have a flat 2 with a flat 2, then we have a flat 2 with a flat 2. Or going the other way, we have a flat 2 to a 1, flat 2 to a 1, flat 2 to 1. These are when notes are right next to each other. It's the closest distance that we technically, in our way of thinking about music, we have for notes. Yes, there are other ways where notes can get even closer. Check out Sevish, that's Sevish, here on YouTube. Sevish for microtonal music, because he's way into that, and he's really good at that stuff. But you can also look at blues and ton of other things. What we have here, we have the flat 2 of a flat 2 of a 1, and then we have a 1 to a flat 2 to a flat 2. And what that is, it's just 1s and flats 2s over and over again. And when we have a series of 1s and flat 2s in a row, and all the notes are next to each other, we call this a chromaticism. Chroma, like the Greek word for color, like all the colors, as in all the notes. Like if every note was a color, we'd have all the colors. So chromaticism. Chromaticism. Yes. Chromaticism. Okay, so we're going to keep it going with hostile incoming. Here we go. Hostile incoming. Type a 4 in the chat if you're having a nice time. Let's keep this going. Hostile incoming. Ah, chromaticism again. Okay, so I think what's interesting that we can talk about now. Hold on. So then we can talk about now that we're starting to see in terms of motifs. We're not seeing many leitmotifs. Now, leitmotifs is when we have a motif that represents a person, place, or thing. It does, yeah, and yes, we might actually technically be hearing leitmotifs because if you think about it, each piece of music we hear is representing a biome. But what I'm saying is we're not hearing, to be clear, what I'm saying is we're not hearing leitmotifs come back around as other characters or places show up again, as we would hear, for example, in like Nobuo Uematsu, every time you see Aerith or your Aerith's theme, something like that. Now, what we can start to spot is we have 1 flat 2 in Draygon. We have essentially 1 flat 2 in Zebes. We have 1 flat 2 in Chozo. We have 1 flat 2 in Hostile Approaching. So what we're starting to see is we're starting to see patterns of using 1s and flat 2s showing up in many places, which is part of what's giving this OST a feeling of at least partial cohesion between different songs as well, pieces. As well, we could hear in Botwoon there was chromaticism, and in Hostile there was also chromaticism as well. There you go. So, in terms of actual reused ideas, we have 1 to flat 2 that's been reused a bunch of times. And we've heard, well, not reused, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that in a great way. It's like, that's something that you, like, the whole thing about reusing things in music is so that you can recognize a pattern, right? If it was all chaos, I always tell people, when I'm teaching people to write songs or compose, I tell them, look, there's a continuum, okay? The continuum on one side, that's cheese. And on the other side is chaos, okay? If the music is too predictable and it repeats too much, it's cheesy. If the music is not at all predictable and never repeats, it can feel like chaos. So you're always trying to find something in the middle between the cheese and the chaos to sit. So when I say it's repeating, but it's in a way that's between cheese and chaos. So you always want to be in between cheese and chaos. What I'm saying is, go make me nachos. Okay, let's check out Kraid. Be very Kraid. It's a joke. Let's check it out. Okay, now I actually did not manage to grab that boss theme while I was playing, so we're going to rewind just a scotch and grab it again. Sorry, guys. If you have perfect pitch, help me out. This one's throwing me for a loop. Help! Says Red Rock. All right, thanks, Red Rock. Thank goodness for Red Rock. Yeah, so that one lost me. But anywho. Ooh. That's just wild. Okay, so first of all, there was chromaticism happening in this Phantoon before we hit this melody that did indeed blow my mind. So right there we have what is called a tritone. That is next to the flat 2, one of the most dissonant things we could have. Yeah. That's us. We'll write it down as if it was in the key of... Yeah, I don't even know how we'd write that down. It doesn't even feel like it has a tonal center, at least at first glance. I'm sure if I listened to it, I would find it. And I'm sure there's some of you out there who listen to it like, no duh, dude. It's X. So you can go ahead and tell me what you think. But yeah, it certainly has that motif that just blew my mind. You know, beep, bum, 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 bum. Yeah, which I'm maybe just saying wrong. But anyway, point is, discordant, delightful, cool stuff. Let's keep this going. And you know this is live because every once in a while, I get something wrong. Okay, let's keep this going with the Fire of Zebes. Not to be confused with the Waters of March. Okay, so what we have here is we have 1 flat 2, 1 flat 3, 1 flat 5. Now, anytime you have a bunch of flats, it's generally going to sound either sad or threatening. And sure enough, we can hear that the sounds pretty threatening. And then it ends up the second time it goes through, it goes to the flat 7, then back to 1. Yeah, it did something else, but we're going to focus on that as being the actual theme of Fires of Zebes. Zebes, Zebes, Zebes. Rocket everywhere, rocket everywhere. Let's check out Crateria main theme. Okay, some really interesting things going on here in the Crateria main theme. One of which is, instead of going, it's using a 1 and a flat 7. Then taking it up. And then, like, going minor with it, kind of like to G minor, maybe. We're gonna take another pass through this, and I'm gonna break it down as we go, because I don't have a really good mental model right now to break it down for you. So we're gonna do this as we go here. So right there, it's kind of like a D minor to a kind of a B flat to something like an A. So something like a 1 flat 6 to 5. So right there, it was basically G minor, F major, G minor, E flat major, kind of. rock chords, if you will. So we had a 1 to a flat 6. First it was. Then back to 1. Into flat 7. Something like that. Then well, and then we had, we'll say E flat was 1. Then we had some flat 7s to 1s. 1 major this time for E flat, and then flat 7 to 1, G flat. Okay, let's keep this going with Wrecked Ship. All right, now what we have here in Wrecked Ship is dissonance inception. What is dissonance inception, you ask? Well, I'll tell you. There's chords that are moving back and forth with our tried and true so far in this OST, 1 to flat 2. Now, these chords that are moving back and forth, the 1 to flat 2, guess what these chords are? These chords are the second most dissonant interval we talked about before, which is the 1 to the flat 5. So we have a 1 to flat 5 in each case, moving back and forth by a 1 to flat 2. So, yeah, we have the flat 5 is below the 1. Well, it doesn't really matter how we think about it. Okay, we'll say the 1, flat 5, and then a second 1 to a flat 5, and then moving back and forth by a distance of a 1 to a flat 2. So it's like layers and layers of dissonance. It's like a dissonant chord moving up and down by a dissonant note distance. So it is dissonance inception. It's dissonance within dissonance. Dissonance, of course, being the opposite of consonance and also my third cousin after constants. I don't know. That sounded clever in my head, and then it ended up not being. So let's go ahead and check out Maridia, Sandy Desert. Sorry, Maridia. I said Maridia. Maridia makes more sense, like Midia or something. So here's another example of using the relationship of the flat 2. Check this out. That we just heard in Maridia. That's now that's taking the 1-3-5 sort of sound that Mary had a little lamb sound, and again using it with a half step between. So it's with the half step is the 1 to the flat 2. So we have 1 to flat 2, but we have major thirds in each. And okay, so we have. Now, here's the thing too. If we were to make a meme of desert music, you know, it might sound something like that. Like if I was to say, if I was to call a piece of music "Camel in Search for Water," it might be like. So, having these major sounds, these happy sounds, going up and down by a half step, I'm extrapolating a little bit, but sounds kind of memey of a desert. It's like if we were to make a meme of what a desert sounds like. There you go. Really cool stuff, and that's one thing we can pick out of this Maridia piece of music and understand and break down. Now, that being said, we're going to move on to the Swampy Caverns. Let's check it out. E flat minor. So here's something cool that I'm gonna break down and explain. Red Rock, you literally saved me on that one theme. Don't worry. We literally all make mistakes. Okay, something to think about for Swampy is it primarily uses what we're going to call a minor chord. Now, I'm not explaining the difference between minor and major chords to you, so I'm going to do that now because that's going to be helpful. So everything we've been talking about in terms of Mary Had the Little Lamb, Uncle whatever he was, taking us for ice cream, these sounds are fundamentally not sad. So this sound right here, you might not say it sounds happy, but I don't think you would say it sounds sad. Okay, likewise, this sound right here, I don't think you're gonna say that this sounds happy, but you might say it sounds sad. Right? You're not gonna say that this sounds happy. You might say it sounds sad. So this sound right here that you might say sounds sad, this is a chord. Remember, a chord is a group of notes together, but this particular group of notes creates a sound called a minor chord. And in very simple terms, we can think of a minor chord as being, well, more sad, and a major chord sounding more happy. So in Swampy, Swampy sounds kind of melancholy. And that's because it uses minor chords. It uses E flat minor, or in the key of E flat. Now it uses a 1 minor, it uses a 4 minor, and the way we think about chords is the same way as we think about notes. The only difference is for chords, to show that it's a chord, it's multiple notes grouped together, we use Roman numerals to differentiate from the notes, where we actually just use regular old numbers. So E flat Swampy is all minor chords. E flat minor. A minor. C minor. G minor. B flat minor. Back to E flat minor. To A flat minor. So it's using all minor chords. And that creates a very, well, sad sound. Not to be a stick in the mud. It's a marsh. Okay, let's check out this next one, which is called Norfair, Ridley's Lair. So look, Ridley's Lair uses the idea of the 1 to flat 2 that we heard in Chozo, we heard in Zebes, that we heard in Draygon, that we heard in Hostile, that we heard in Fires of, that we heard in Wrecked Ship, that we heard in Maridia. This 1 to flat 2, and indeed, calling back to Maridia, it's 1 to flat 2. This is Ridley's Lair. It uses 1 to flat 2, but there's major chords. So remember, major's that happy sound. It's using major chords going back and forth between a 1 and a flat 2, which again, it's like that creepy clown thing, right? It's... It's a 1 and a flat 2 using major chords the entire way through of 1 and flat 2, which creates, yes, something very threatening, very ominous, but also the major almost inspires us to action too. It's like action is required. Major. Major. Action is required with that major, but then that 1 to flat 2 creates a little bit of element of, well, danger. Danger, Will Robinson. Speaking of danger, Will Robinson, let's check out Ambient Silence, also known as your 7th inning stretch. Hey, that's not silence. I know what silence is, but that's not silence. And as part of our 7th inning stretch, I'd like to invite any lurkers on the stream to type one message. I will not call you out, but you can get a little adrenaline rush of, ooh, I actually said something on the stream. Now's your chance. It's Lurker Amnesty Moment, where lurkers can say things and I will not call you out by name and make you feel singled out. You can just say something and participate in some small way. Maybe it's just an emoji. Maybe, how about this? All lurkers who want to participate, type the number 1. You're a lurker. You've been lurking on the stream and you just want to say something. It's Lurker Amnesty Moment. I will not call you out. Just type a 1. And I will not call you out. You have my word. Hello, lurkers. My love to you, dear lurkers. Okay, let's keep this going. With Space Pirate Statue Chamber. What an interesting title for a piece of music. Let's check it out. All right, chat, does anyone want to take a guess of what was present in Space Pirates that we have heard already in this OST that might make it sound threatening? Does anyone want to guess? Take a guess, take a stab at it. I'll give you 10 seconds before I say the answer, starting now. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have No Lamey, Amanda Music, saying 1, flat 2. Yup, flat notes. Very good, Vamp Flower. Scientician, very good. Very good. Let's see. Okay, no one on Twitch said anything. Flats, yeah. Beta. It's these 1s to flats 2s. But here's the thing. Again, really it's flat 2 to 1 is the way we could think about it. And yes, you wouldn't necessarily think about it as flat 2 to 1, but in the simple way that we're understanding and unpacking this, we're going to think of it as flat 2 to 1. We have that 2 times in 2 different places. But underneath it, what gives it context is the lowest note at the end, which is a C. You might say, well, why does that give it context, Dan? Because whatever note is lowest in any piece of music that you hear gives context to all other notes. The lowest note gives the most context to all other notes. So that's why people say that the bass player is the most powerful instrument in a rock band. It's because they can actually play the lowest notes of an instrument, which means the guitar player could play whatever, but the context of what the guitar player is doing is derived from what the bass player actually does. So, what we have here is right there. That's the C. That's giving it the context. Setting context. Okay, so it does 2 different things. It does flat 7 to 6. And then it does 4 to 3. And then it also does flat 7 to 6 to flat 3 to not flat 3. So in each case, flat 7 to 6, that's a flat 2 to 1 relationship. 4 to 3, that's a flat 2 to 1 relationship. Flat 3 to not flat 3. Flat 3 to regular 3, it's a 1 to flat 2 relationship. So everything in here is 1 to flat 2 relationships. Super cool stuff. Let's keep this going with the rebuilt head Quidditch Quivering Quirrell rebuilt headquarters. That was what we just heard in Space Pirates. Thank you, Joseph Cortez, JC in the chat. All right, I want to show you something wild. Right there. Right there, those big growling sounds was taking the motif from Space Pirate and bringing it into Tourian. How wild is that? And how about that for a hidden musical connection? That's crazy. That's nuts. Angel Torres says, is this music? Well, considering we just made a connection between that and Space Pirates, I'd say so. These claims do not constitute what Dan really thinks. Void or prohibitive. Must be 18 years or older to play. Okay, let's check out Mother Brain Final Boss. Ooh, Final Boss theme. It's time for the red marker. Where'd my red marker go? Oh, I think I dropped it. Found it! All right, let's do this. Mother Brain Final Boss theme. Okay, so anyone want to take a guess at what is contributing in part to Mother Brain sounding so ominous? You have 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I shall reveal chromaticism. We have chromaticism happening in Mother. So we have also, what makes it a little threatening and a little off-putting is that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, that the music cycles around in groups of 7. Let me count for you and show you exactly what I mean. 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, repeat. 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So, which is pretty interesting because we had in Draygon was groups of 5, which was a little off-putting. Now here in Mother, we have groups of 7, which also feels a little destabilizing. You might say, Dan, why do groups of 5 and groups, because that seems rather arbitrary. Why would those be destabilizing? It's because the majority of the music that you listen to, unless you listen to like a lot of Dream Theater, is in 4/4 or 3/4 or 12/8 or 6/8. Those are the most common time signatures you're going to hear when you listen to music. Most music. And it depends on the genre you listen to, but in general, I'm going to stand behind that statement. Most common time signature is 4/4. In fact, it's so common, it's literally called common time. And they actually have a way of expressing it where instead of writing, you write a C for common time, and everyone knows it's so common, it's 4/4. So, anytime we have 5s or 7s, that can create a destabilizing feeling because your ears are so used to hearing 4s and 3s. How's that for some cool insight there? And let's keep it rock and rolling with Escape. Oh. So the Escape piece of music is actually exactly Draygon. It's literally the Draygon piece of music, but with an alarm sound added into it. So Escape equals Draygon. If you don't believe me, go back and listen to Draygon. You will see it's the same piece of music. Escape just has an alarm bell ringing over it. This next one is called Staff Credits Finale. Now, don't go anywhere because we have some bonus songs we're going to listen to, so don't click off the stream just yet. Don't close this browser just yet. Hang out with me to the very end because there's some bonuses waiting for you. Some pieces of music. You might want to hear what I have to say or just hang out with us and have some fun while we listen to it. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Here's Staff Credits Finale. Prologue motif. Oh, that was really cool. So it actually ended up mixing. Where did we hear that before? We heard that before. I don't think I wrote that down. Oh, yeah. That was motif 2 from Prologue. Oh, okay, so this was interesting. So it actually used the Prologue motif and the Epilogue. This is all making sense now. So we had Prologue motif number 2 actually came first. Okay, so check this out. The motifs from the Prologue were actually flipped around backwards. So in the Prologue, we heard motif 1, which was the... We heard that second in the finale. So the finale was actually the Prologue flipped around backwards. Prologue backward. How cool is that? Cool things. All right, let's keep this thing rocking and rolling. Like I said, don't go anywhere because we got some bonuses for you to listen to. And now a word from our sponsor, Best Music Coach. Best Music Coach, check out the description of this video that you're watching right now to try out all my books and courses for free for 30 days. You can try out the #1 bestseller, the Best Music Theory Book for Beginners, that has sold over 5,000 copies. You can try out the Best Piano Book for Beginners, also hit #1 bestseller on Amazon, has sold a couple thousand copies. You can go check all that out in the video description. Again, you can try it free for 30 days. So go ahead, check that out in the description. And that was our word from our sponsor. Okay, let's keep this going with Samus Aran's appearance fanfare. Okay, well, let's check out the next one then. Okay, here on to our bonus. All right, that's looping. We're going to read super chats, and then we have a vote going on right now. That vote hits 75 votes. Right now it's at 55. We 75 yeses to do another bonus track. We will continue on and do another bonus track. Right now it's at 56. If it hits 75 by the time I'm done reading the chats, we will go on and do another bonus track here today. Rubberman202 says, I've grown to really appreciate Super Metroid OST. It's hard to believe Nintendo themselves made this game sometimes, even given how different it is to their other games. With the source Paper Mario, thank you for your support, Rubberman202. Rubberman202 goes on to say, seriously, this game's music is so moody, atmospheric, and ambient. It's brilliant, and again, it's not what you'd expect from Nintendo back in the 90s, which was Super Mario All-Stars OST. You got it, Rubberman. Rubberman202 comes back again. Says, hearing you say, I hesitate to call this music really makes me want you to react to Wario Land 4. Definitely test your expectations on that. Excellent. Joseph Cortez says, Rockin' Stone, brother. Put this towards Deep Rock Galactic. You got it, Joseph Cortez. The Scientician says, I've missed catching your live stream, Dan. I'm sorry I left for so long. It's been really nice. You're finally reacting to Super Metroid. Put this towards Ocarina of Time. You got it, Scientician. And we have little AI, or maybe AL, 016 says, 016, CB says, putting some money towards Metroid Zero Mission OST. We need to search Super Metroid OST and the bonus tracks. Thank you very much for your support. And if you're wondering why people are super chatting, the way we have of supporting the channel here is you can super chat, and that upvotes the OST you want to hear next, and that's the way of supporting the channel. Okay, let's go back and check this here vote. Oh, it's at 74. Come on, guys. All right, I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to count the chat. It's at 74. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. 76. All right, let's do this thing, guys. Let's line up some bonus tracks. And as we head into our next bonus track, a special thank you and a shout out to J2O Juiced who made this playlist. Everyone, please put your favorite emoji in the chat to say thank you to J2O Juiced for making this playlist for us today. Let's keep it going. right, come on. Come on. I'll build it up. This was sick. This is 100% the remake that I wanted and needed in my life. Oh, that was nuts. Hey, real quick before we listen to this last one, just a reminder, you can try out all my books and courses in the video description. Go ahead, click that link. Check it out. Let's do this thing. Guys. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you're loving life like I'm loving life. Thank you so very much for joining me today. Take care. Have an awesome, fantastic rest of your week. I'll see you next time. Take care and goodbye.